He doesn't know. We have a little bit of technical difficulty. Just bear with us. Sorry to mean to gabble again. Wait. Oh, you know what? I have to be careful because last time people saw me laughing. I don't want them to see me use swear words. It's like, is this something as simple as like?
Does that one work now?
Everyone says,
Is there a volume on these things?
Jason's son's name.
that's just
Actually, this might be interesting. Everyone has to yell. And then we'll get tired. Lose our voices and go home.
Check with Jeremy to see if we should just.
Exactly. He's down below.
Where's he?
He was down below. He's there. He was like down below checking a plug or something. Do you want me to go ask him?
I could go.
There goes John Roden. He knows a lot too.
Oh, wait. Here the mics.
So you know how bad it is, but
yeah, that was shocking. Was that? Did you get in trouble for that? That doesn't seem controversial. I was shocked.
Oh, yes.
He's kind of young too, right? Like 42.
In here.
Super quick.
Sometimes that's too cold.
Here.
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 Thank you. Would you please
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we recognize two members who are candidates. Ms. Donna and Dr. McLane
Would like to extend condolences to the family of
Jerry Englert. Jerry he passed away this past week. And Jerry was one of our longtime Lancers, serving the district for 26 years as a principal at both Edinburgh Elementary and McCain Elementary. Jerry's full obituary appeared in today's and yesterday's Erie Times. We would again like to express our condolences to Jerry's family.
Thank you. Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Mrs. Crowe. Situation we are dealing with currently, day by day basis, starting today. The reality that we woke up to this morning that Dr. McLane was not in our lives today. That was not something I think any of us were ready for, despite what we do. There were today a lot of tears, there was a lot of laughing. There were a lot of tears and laughing together when we talk about Rob, and what he brought to us here. People are really starting to wrap our heads around the extensive impact that he had on people that were fortunate to have someone like him in our lives.
And so I'd like to just take a moment and read a letter from the district recognizing Rob and the time he spent with us. Rob was a larger than life figure who touched the lives of everyone he met in ways that even now in times of tremendous grief leave a smile on your face. His wit and facetious sense of humor were only surpassed in scale by his enormous heart that fueled his unconditional caring for students' well-being and support to the adults in their lives as part of the General McLane School community. When he was an athletic trainer, he was far more than a medical professional. And as an athletic director, he was far more than a supervisor. And whatever he did, Rob brought all of himself and devoted his life to the calling to develop young people, not merely on, but more significantly off the field of competition, on their journey to becoming young adults. In his unofficial role as mentor, he shaped the lives of countless students and adults through his commitment to General McLane. More than any of these things, however, Rob's greatest legacy will be as a husband to Megan, Edinburgh Elementary School teacher, and father to Jack and Lauren, both James W. Parker Middle School students. Please join us in supporting them now and in the future as they navigate this loss and the void it leaves. Rob Kenner Connect will be painfully missed, but we may remain committed to carrying on his commitment to and love for all things General McLane and what that represents. He would expect nothing less of us. His strength, courage, and love are cherished in his memory. I, for one, count myself thankful that Rob was in my life, and I'm a better person for it. I would encourage you to, if you have not already done so, to think about what he brought to you and the people you encountered in our lives here at General McLane, and we're all better for having known him. Thank you, Mrs. Crowe.
Thank you, Dr. Lane. Would you please join us now for a moment of silence to honor members of our family that we have lost. Thank you. Thank you all. Do you want to do introduction? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Lane for just a moment before we move forward.
Sure. Thank you, Mrs. Crow. School board, on the agenda tonight for your approval is the assistant principal position at General McLane High School. And I could not be more excited that Jason Kime is the name that we're bringing forward this evening. And even more excited is even more excited about the fact that Jason is here tonight. And you're going to get to meet him here in a moment. He's here with his family, his wife, Rebecca, son, Ben, and newborn daughter, Francine. I'm really excited to bring Jason and introduce him as a member of our team. At every stage in this hiring process, Jason proved himself to be the strongest candidate in a field of very talented candidates. Jason comes to us tonight from his current role as an administrative officer at McDowell High School and McDowell Intermediate High School, where he has extensive experience in various roles of being a high school assistant principal. During the process, we saw from Jason a very clear and specific vision for how he can support students and staff as they work to achieve the district mission, which he has a full and comprehensive understanding and knowledge of. Jason absolutely did his homework. Jason demonstrated a thorough understanding of the district, all the way down to the details of the high school schedule and how it can be utilized to support students and their needs as we come out of the pandemic. Jason also demonstrated a collaborative leadership style that when working with teachers to support their growth as teachers and professionals, both in his practice and things that he has done in his time at McDowell. Most importantly though, Jason has a thorough understanding of life in a high school and what students need in terms of their daily and long-term success. And not just that for students, but how to support teachers in their growth to become opportunities for students. He really checked all of the boxes in terms of what we're looking for what our students and staff need. So it's with great excitement and confidence that Jason Kime is the recommendation for the position of assistant principal at General McLane High School. And if Jason, if you don't mind, if you'd like to take a second and come up on stage, he'd be glad to introduce himself to the board individually.
Pretty excited. Good to see you, Jason.
That was the one box you didn't check, sorry.
If you didn't catch that, it's worth it. Dr. Wise wants to know why we keep hiring tall.
There's something real quick and then hand it back to you.
Jason and Rebecca, thank you for taking the time to come this evening. We're incredibly excited to have you on board. Your name is on for approval later in the meeting, but we wanted you to come now and have a moment to meet everybody, say hello, and also get the heck out of here so you can enjoy an evening with your family and celebrate accordingly. Maybe get some ice cream on the way home because those kids have earned it. So thanks. We'll see you soon. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we move on to item 3, recognition.
No, they'll hear you. They'll hear on the Zoom. So
Okay, all right, sorry. I apologize. Oh, no. Sorry, everyone. Now we have recognition of visitors of matters related to the agenda. We're going to ask Ms. Anna Elliott to come up to speak of her retirement. Anna has 28 years of faithful service to the district. And you're going to have to yell, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. I am currently the clubroom teacher, and I understand that many of you know what the clubroom is. It's the Center for Learning and Understanding and Behavior, resulting in opportunity, outreach, and merit. I'm better in front of a group of kids. Dr. Lane and School Board, please accept this letter of intent to retire on June 10th, 2022. Over the course of the last 28 years, I have had the privilege of experiencing life through the eyes of the adolescent youth in the General McLane School District. I've had the pleasure to work in one building, have experienced a remodel, have been housed in 11 different classrooms, had 4 superintendents, 7 principals, 8 achievement center aides, while having 8 different teaching positions. I have enjoyed the high moments of being a finalist of the yearly Golden Apple Award and won a cruise because of a former student recognizing me for the impact I had with them. I have experienced terrible lows due to the deaths of 4 colleagues, with one being the result of student violence. While the deaths were devastating, the loss of life at the hand of a student compels me to bring your attention to the continued need of the clubroom. The adolescents who are entrusted in our care have consistently required our support. The result of our school shooting brought into focus the critical need of students to be heard, to be supported, and to have a place to learn how to manage their thoughts and feelings responsibly. There is no denying that the middle school years are such a critical time in an adolescent's life. It is during that time that children start to build the foundation of friendships, learn how to navigate the educational system, and how to handle the pressures of life. The middle school years are when we foster positive approaches that further develop their moral compass and encourage them to spread their wings while still setting boundaries. Unfortunately, we have also become a family for students who don't have strong family supports. The clubroom was started because we, as a district, realized the importance of seeing the whole child and meeting all their needs. The clubroom has become the lifeline for at-risk students. We bridge and fill the gaps. The gaps can be educational, emotional, and/or family needs. We now have the ability and professionals that make the clubroom in the General McLane exemplary. Please, as you consider current budget and staffing needs, don't sacrifice the support of the clubroom for our current and future leaders. Respectfully, me, Anna Elliott. Any questions?
University, majoring in biological engineering. I mention my children because they reap the benefits that GM offered. As a parent, my greatest fear is that other young families in the district will not be afforded the GM advantage. I am asking you, as a member of our community, to reconsider your proposed plan to cut positions and shift teachers. The last few years have impacted students and teachers in ways no one could have predicted. Asking us to do more with less is not the answer. I challenge you to come to the table and make decisions that will best serve our students and the GM community so that we can continue to provide excellence in public education. Sincerely, Karen Yanko. Okay, and the second one is from Megan Howard. Good evening, Dr. Lane and GM School Board. My name is Megan Howard, and I am a former General McLane student. I have 4 kids in the district, at least 1 in each building. We as a family love the community in our little town of Edinburgh. I am writing to you because I am unable to attend the board meeting this evening, but I have very strong feelings about the enrichment program at the middle school. My 5th grade son, Parker, has been involved in 2 courses with Mr. Hutch this school year, and he has shared with us detailed information about the class tasks. Activities and assignments, detailed. What he shared most with us was the idea that he was learning through inquiry, collaboration, and discovery, while being led by a teacher who is most acutely aware of the individual needs of each student. My son Parker's motivation in school is actually quite low. Sadly, he's mostly interested in friends and engages in attention-seeking behaviors that have caught the eye of his other teachers in a negative way. Getting his work done and over with was a priority. He told me recently that his main excitement and motivation for school is having Mr. Hutch and being in his class. Parker also remarked that he was around students who worked hard and cared about school. He enjoyed having problem-solving conversations with them and listening to their point of view. Most of us know that Mr. Hutch has a big personality and his excitement for life in general is contagious, but I think it's more than that. Mr. Hutch sees students at their current level and has lifted the bar. Sure, Parker's teachers knew that he caught on quickly when he was in elementary school, especially in math, so worksheets on the next year's grade level were given as hallway work. I don't see this as a successful way to engage and enrich. Basically, I am fully in favor of having an enrichment program not just for the GIEP students, but for students who excel in general or need challenged. But I don't want to stop there. How can we advocate for differentiation/STEAM for all students and challenge them to a higher standard? We have great teachers at James W. Parker Middle School. Let's empower them to take our students to the next level. How do we have STEAM as an exploratory or part of the ELA/math/science and social studies curriculum? Let's put our heads together and do what's best for our kids. I have complete trust in Dr. Lane and Dr. Carnes. They are truly amazing additions to the GM family. They, along with the school board and administration, have their work cut out for them. How can I, as a mom, be part of this solution? How can the folks attending tonight's meeting be part of the solution? Let's work together. Thank you for your time, Megan Howard.
Thank you. Is this thing on? I just can't tell.
It's on.
Just with the sound.
Yeah, it's on. It's just on.
But I still need to talk real loud. So I'll be sure I'm not yelling for no reason. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. At this time, we'll have consideration of minutes of the regular monthly study session that occurred on March 9th, as well as consideration of the minutes of the regular monthly meeting that occurred on March 16th. Those are made available online. We've all had an opportunity to review them in draft form. Were there any comments or necessary changes? Thank you. Dr. Wise made the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other comments or changes? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Those are now official record. Moving on now to the superintendent's report. Dr. Lane.
Thank you, Mrs. Crowe. I'm going to pass this over pretty quickly to Mrs. Mikowski here to introduce our guest this evening from the General McLane High School Education Academy and GM Works program. This month's presentation represents the high school, and our presentation next month will represent the elementary schools and some programming there. So, Mrs. Mikowski, it's all you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm happy to introduce two excellent educators who have taken the reins on a couple of important programs we've established here at the high school. The Education Academy was developed 3 years ago in response to the recognition that there are certain characteristics a person possesses that lead to being a great teacher. When these characteristics are recognized in students, we encourage the students to consider a career in teaching and provide opportunities for them to try out being in a teacher role. Melanie Mishler is here tonight to describe that program to you. And GM Works is a program developed in a partnership with the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, OVR, to provide work experience for students. The students are actually hired by the district and are placed in jobs on campus. The district pays their wage and then is reimbursed through OVR. The students learn valuable skills that will transfer to other full-time employment after graduation. Noah Krasanik is here tonight to talk with you about how this program has expanded in the past year. So I present to you Melanie Mishler and Noah Krasanik.
Hi, good evening. I'm Melanie Mishler, and I have the privilege of working with juniors and seniors in Education Academy. Currently, I have 42 students in placements throughout the district in 51 different places. And they are working with 29 different teachers. In the high school, I've got students placed with the life skills classroom, where they're in there every single day. I have students placed with working with the GM Cafe, which I think Sarah Webb's going to talk about. I have students placed in reverse inclusion classes. Both last quarter, I had students placed in the fitness and weight training class, where they would help the students, the Education Academy students would help the students who were in that class. This quarter, I've got students working with the history of rock and roll class. I've got students in the middle school who are placed in the life skills classroom. Some of them are there every single day helping. Some of them have been pulled specifically to help for specific activities they've had. One was going to the mall and working on a map reading activity. Another one was building birdhouses, which if we get the slideshow to work, you'll see some of those pictures popping up. I have two students working in the club classroom along with Anna Elliott. I've got students placed throughout the middle school working with fifth grade, some of the co-teach classes. I've got them placed working with core and exploratory classes in the middle school. In the elementary schools, I have students placed with the autistic support classroom and the emotional support classrooms, with learning support teachers. I have a student who is, actually, I think I have two who are assisting with MTSS interventions in the elementary schools. I've also got students placed with second and third grade classrooms. And this is kind of special this quarter. our very own high school therapy dog, Cooper. I've got 2 different students working with Brenda Hurdle, developing some programs and lessons and some outreach with Cooper. Some student expectations, students who are taking part in this, they are responsible students. They're selected to work with willing teachers. They can work in a variety of situations, one-on-one, small group, planning lessons, even teaching a lesson, and any other ways that teachers need them to assist. For the future, looking ahead, Mike Kanata has put together a way for these students to get paraeducator certification, and that will be coming next year. We have that in the works. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank the administrators who are here for allowing these students into your building. I know sometimes that's taking a chance, but thank you so much for allowing them in and letting them come in. And also for the teachers. I know there's a lot of teachers here who have hosted students, and I see a lot of faces here. So thank you very much for taking these students in addition to the classes that you're teaching as well. Thank you.
GM Works is our workforce initiative program for senior students with IEPs or 504s. It's a paid work experience in conjunction with OVR. Our OVR counselor, Dana Webb, and our business service counselor through OVR, Tom Wellington, and myself meet to discuss opportunities and programming monthly. Once a student is identified, the total hours vary from student to student. Some students have worked 50 hours. Some students have worked up to 300 hours. And like we said, the program is funded 100% by OVR, doesn't cost us anything. It started in 2018, 2019 with 7 students. And this year we have 15 students going through the program. And I learned today that through OVR that every student who's gone through the program has either found employment or went on to post-secondary upon completion. Dana Webb and myself meet with students 2 to 3 times a month to find appropriate employment opportunity. These are typically tied to the IEP post-secondary goals, employment goals. Pre-employment skills that are worked on, the students fill out an application, they go through an interview, and then fill out formal paperwork through GM. Jobs that we've done include facility maintenance, custodial, cafeteria monitor, office staff, cafe worker, library support staff, and grounds crew. We have 1 student working in the community at Full Prod Associates. Skills that are being worked on are being on time, following directions, independently working, completing tasks on time, clocking in, clocking out, etc. Program goal is moving forward, are working with students for target employment goals within the community and building off of Act 158. And that's going to be a big push that we're going to work with area businesses to become service providers. I also wanted to thank Dan, Pam, Jason, Mike, and Justin for helping the program grow and being open-minded about different possibilities. And Tim G, who has also been a job coach and supporter of many of the students. And Tom and Dana from OVR specifically, they've been a huge help for us.
I did not realize that Mrs. Webb was going to speak tonight, so I apologize for not introducing her. Sarah Webb is family and consumer science teacher, and she's finishing her first year at the high school here this year. And Dan and I have visited a lot of high schools and saw high schools where they had a cafe open in like a lounge area or in the library. And oftentimes we thought, wouldn't that be cool to have in our building? And so it started in the previous school year. But I have to say, Sarah took the proverbial food ball and ran with it. The cafe is a booming success, and I'd like to introduce her to you so she can talk to you about the cafe.
Good evening. Thank you, Pam. The 2 programs you just talked about, I get the benefit of tying them all together, all wrapped around food. So I get to work with both of their students as well as just the general population of students. We run the cafe. If you had any sample from what was set up back there, the students did all of that today. They prepared all the food. I had a student come in and set that up, brewed the coffee. It's really student run. I have some volunteer students from the Education Academy. I have students from GM Works that get paid to work there. And then I just have general education students who want to be a part of it. I have one young lady who has been there from day one. She shows up every morning, some days even before me, because she's on that real early bus. She sets everything up, There is 0 credits involved with her. It is strictly she wants to be a part of something. And that's a great part about the cafe, that there's a place for everybody. So some kids want social skills and they can work the register and they can take orders. Other kids want to work with food and they learn how to read the recipes and prepare the ingredients. Our main purpose, and I believe I gave a handout for you up there that you can look at our bylaws, but our big thing is relating the cafe back to the family and consumer science classes. And one of our pushes that I've talked about with Dan and Pam is that we need to meet kids where they're at. And one of the issues that we have to be real about in this world is our health and not taking it seriously. And our teenagers get away with it and they eat whatever they want and they think that that's great, but they're slowly learning that that doesn't work. So we're trying to give them healthier options. So I have children that buy flaxseed products every single day. And they don't always know what a flaxseed is, but they're not afraid to try it. They will eat guacamole. Sometimes we sell guacamole with vegetables and they will take it. And we slip in information that that's a superfood. They buy protein shakes in the morning. It's not a milkshake, it's a protein shake. We give them a lot of offerings that they think are great and they're really sugar-free. So if it's provided, they're hungry, they will buy it, they will learn to like it. And then we slip in the idea through class that, hey, this is important for the rest of your life. So it's a great opportunity for all the students to get involved. We have plans next year of adding more classes where the students will take more ownership of it. In addition, we do a great partnership, and you can see a lot of the pictures up there with the life skills and autistic support class. Anytime there's a project, last week we had Kindness Blue Ribbon Week, and the students came. So these pictures you see, it was a very crazy, hectic moment in that room, but it was organized chaos. We had GM Works kids in there. We had Education Academy kids. We had life skills, autistic support, and then the regular nutrition and culinary arts students. And they all paired up and they worked together and they made these confetti kindness cookies that were gone in minutes that we sold as a fundraiser for the Blue Ribbon Week. And they loved working together, and it's just the growth that comes out of it is amazing. And it's all related to food, so they all enjoy it.
Thank you, Mrs. Mishler, Mr. Kazanik, and Mrs. Webb. I don't know if there are questions from the board on that. There may not be, which is fine, and we can move on. But I did want to note just a couple of things about that. I hope that we recognize that through all the presentations, especially that tonight, if we talk about this one in the high school in particular, that there were 3 separate programs there, but they don't exist in silos. That they are all tied together and share student experiences. When we talk about shared student experiences at the high school, we're talking about getting students authentic post-secondary experiences that are meaningful for their life beyond General McLane High School, because that's the irony of high school, is that the first day you step into high school, you're getting ready to leave high school, and what happens beyond it. So these programs don't exist in isolation. They tie together for a unified vision for these experiences for students before they leave. Mrs. Webb did a great job explaining how one example of how those things come together in what she does. Mr. Grzanek, you blew kind of past it and you said it quickly, but I think you said that for GM Works, according to OVR, all students are either placed or in a post-secondary experience. Is that correct? Where'd you go? Yes, I think that was correct. That's kind of incredible. That is not something that we should just look past. And in terms of the Education Academy, I think we all saw a month ago the headline that PDE issued 66% fewer teacher certifications than it did 10 years ago. Okay, at the end of the year. We have been somewhat insulated from the teacher shortage because we reap the benefit of living in a region where we have 3 or 4 universities saturating the market for now with teacher candidates. But the idea that we're recognizing this as a pipeline issue, and one that we can help solve ourselves by getting experiences for these students before they leave the building. You shouldn't have to wait for college if this is something you know you want to do. So thanks to Mrs. Mikowski and the high school team for providing these experiences for our students. Thank you, Mrs. Crow.
Tell the kids the food is great. I'm ready to take a break.
Thank you. Now we move on to item number 8, to review and consideration of financial reports, accounts payables, cafeteria accounts payable as of April 2022, as well as accounts paid and cafeteria accounts paid prior to the board meeting in March of 2022. Mr. Fenda, please take it away.
Yes, thank you very much. What we have on the screen is the general fund treasurer's reports, which is essentially cash balances. And at the end of March, the general fund, we had 16.1 million. That's down from 18.4 million the previous month. In capital projects, just about flat, 6.6 million, both at the end of February and March. The cafeteria was down from 43,000 to about 22,000. And finally, the student activity accounts totaled 111,000 between the two buildings, the middle school and the high school. This is the graphical representation of the fund balance in purple, the purple line at the top. And then the green line is revenues and the red line is expenses. So as you can see in March, the expense line, the red line was higher than the green line, which meant that our fund balance came down. The purple line had a downward trend for the month. And on the revenue side, we had, here is the revenue comparison. We had almost $25 million last year through March, and almost the same amount this year through March. There's about 9.3 million left in the budget of $34.4 million. On the expenditure side, we had 22.4 million last year through March, about 1.8 million more this year, totaling 24.2 million. And we have about $14 million left in the $38 million budget. List of payments, total 896,000 since last month's meeting. And then we have another group of checks that'll be issued tomorrow, totaling $408,000. Capital reserve. We only had one check issued out of capital reserve to Wellert Corporation, $3,700. That's related to the fuel storage tank project. Food service. We are still benefiting from subsidies, higher federal subsidies, although those higher federal subsidies have not been renewed for next year as of now. But nonetheless, we had total operating revenues about $14,800 for the month, $75,000 year to date. That's well ahead of last year on the far right columns. Expenses $123,000 for the month and $790,000 year to date. Net income down at the bottom there, excluding transfers, 46,000 positive and 162,749 year to date. Add in the transfers and we have 337,749, which is well ahead of last year at this time. And similarly, the number of lunches we're serving, both month and year to date, are well ahead of where we were last year at this time. And then cafeteria list of payments, not a whole lot of them, but they total $34,500 to the various food suppliers and the service company. Payables, about $19,000 going out in checks from the cafeteria fund tomorrow. Jumping over the middle school student activities shown there. We did have some receipts coming in during the month in the middle school activity accounts. And we started the month with 66,000, ended with 73,000. And starting last month, we have a list of checks that have been cut out of the middle school activity account, $255 in total. And we also have that coming up for the high school. And here's the high school activity accounts, all the various student activities going on this year. Again, we have some receipts coming in and the disbursements going out the door with the details shown on the following page, about $12,300. And see there's some disbursements for yearbook and some looks like some payments going out, getting ready for the prom. And that is all for the financial reports.
Quick question, Bill. I noticed the cafeteria balance is quite low compared to the sheet. Is the sheet of revenues and expenses on basically showing what's accrued even if you haven't gotten the cash in?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll try to speak up next time. I'll repeat. I was just questioning the balance of the school, of the lunch balance being so much lower than what the accrual shows on the sheet that Bill has up right now. And he was clarifying that the sheet shows what we've accrued as far as income that should be paid at some point, but from a cash standpoint, we haven't gotten the check from the government yet.
And there's another reason for that as well. A number of all of the subsidies actually for the cafeteria come in through the general fund, and they are held there and offset against the payables for payroll. So the cafeteria itself doesn't hold a lot of cash because a lot of the money runs through the general fund.
All right, thank you. I move to accept the reports.
Any other questions for Bill? There was a motion to approve. Is there a second to approve? Dr. Wise approved the seconded the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor to approve the financial reports? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Number 9 on our agenda, appointment of a board member to outside committees, is just a housekeeping matter. The IU5, the intermediate number 5, intermediate unit number 5, made us aware that as part of their board and bylaw policies during, I don't know if it's the reorganization or why we're doing this now, because we usually do this in December, but for whatever reason, we do need to assign a board rep to outside committees. And at this point, I would move that we would reappoint Brad Patullo to the role of our IU rep. That would be, of course, pending appropriate and thorough reports on dinner activity. Is there, Brad, would you accept the nomination this time? You just did it like 3 months ago, but you might change your mind.
Yes, I accept.
Okay, great. Thank you for your service. That is a lot. Brad goes to more board meetings all the time. So does everyone who's on an outside committee does that, but that's a big one. And we do thank you, Brad. You're a board member there. That's integral, and we appreciate your effort there. So Sherry seconded it. Is there any other discussion? No, I'm sorry. You seconded it. Yeah. Is there any other discussion? All in favor to reappoint Brad Patullo to the intermediate number 5 representative? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you. Thank you, Brad. And thank you again for your service. And now we move on to committee reports, policy and co-curricular activities. I know that Mrs. King, in her absence today, one of the other committee members, were going to update us on that committee report.
That'll be me.
Thank you, Mr. Patullo.
Thank you, Mrs. Crowe. The committee moves for consideration of approval of the first reading of Board Policy 903, 9/03 public participation in board meetings as outlined in A, B, and C. That was in the form of a motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves for consideration of approval of athletic volunteer assistance as outlined in A and B.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Committee moves for consideration of approval of supplemental resignations as outlined in A and B.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Committee moves for consideration of approval of athletic supplemental contracts for the 22-23 school year as outlined in A and B.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
That concludes policy and co-curricular.
Thank you, Mr. Patullo. Moving on to Finance and District Operations Committee, Mr. Lofgren.
Thank you, Mrs. Crowe. Item number 1, the committee recommends a motion to renew the following facility use requests for the fiscal year. They involve the Northwest Tri-County Intermediate Unit in McCain Elementary and YMCA of Erie in McCain Elementary, as outlined in A, B, and C.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee recommends a motion to accept a proposal from Wellert Corporation to provide the following professional services related to the fuel storage upgrade project as outlined in A and B.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee recommends a motion to award the following contracts for HVAC upgrades at General McLane High School and James W. Parker Middle School to the lowest bidders as discussed during the April 13th, 2022 study session, as outlined in A through C, with a total of the low bids to be $5,447,495.
Discussion?
And just to add to or clarify the timing, some of the work will be occurring in the high school this coming school year. And then the rest, the middle school work will not occur until after this summer. So it's not going to happen this summer in the middle school, but next summer.
That's right.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 4, the committee recommends a motion to authorize the administration to post an interview for non-instructional summer help. And this is a traditional practice that we do each year. It's a similar type of set of positions as outlined in A through F.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee recommends a motion to hire Dave Cannon for the Transportation Services Manager position effective July 1st, 2022, as outlined in A and B.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves to approve the following non-instructional employee resignation as outlined in A.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves to approve the following non-instructional employee resignation with intent to retire. And I appreciate the 26 years of service as outlined in A.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves to ratify the following non-instructional unpaid leaves of absence as outlined in A through E.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 9, the committee moves to approve the following non-instructional PTO unpaid leave of absence as outlined in A and B.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Ms. Crowe, that concludes my committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Lofgren. Now we would move to Curriculum and Instructional Committee. Mrs. Miller.
I think this is on.
Well, remember, this makes it so Zoom people can hear you, but you have to yell so they can hear you.
I'll try my best.
I hope that's true. Otherwise, I've been screaming all night at everybody.
Sorry to Zoom. All right, to start, the committee moves for consideration of ratification of additions to the 2021-2022 substitute teacher list as outlined in A.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves for the consideration of approval of retirement for Mrs. Anna Elliott with 28 years of service. Thank you. I think I read that correctly. Sorry.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves for consideration of acceptance of tuition students as outlined in A and B.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves for the consideration of approval of the curriculum revision and adoption for struggle and triumph history through sports as outlined in A and B.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves for the consideration of approval of Unified Talent Applicant Tracking and Unified Talent School Spring Job Board Unlimited as outlined in A through C.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves for consideration of approval of the following internships as outlined through A and through E.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves for the consideration of approval of the General McLane High School Assistant Principal by Mr. Jason Keim, who will start as the GMHS Assistant Principal effective July 1st of 2022. He is a current administrative officer with Mill Creek Township School District. Mr. Keim replaces Mrs. Pamela Mikowski, who will be retiring at the end of the 2021-2022 school year. Mr. Keim will be hired under the current GMSD Act 93 agreement. All necessary clearances have been received and his wages and salary will be within the board approved range.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain. Motion passed.
The committee moves for consideration of ratification of long-term substitute teacher at Edinburgh Elementary School as outlined in A through C.
Discussion?
Oh, sorry. I only have the A through C. Thank you.
Just as a correction, just to make sure there were 4 items noted on that. Was there any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion passed. Thank you, Mrs. Miller.
Thank you.
Going to move on to other reports. Yep. Intermediate unit number 5, Mr. Patullo.
Hello. Thank you, Mrs. Crowe. I'm Brad, I'll be your IU5 rep for the evening. The board met on the 23rd of March, pretty quick meeting in the IU building in Edinburgh. There was some discussion about, there was an idea proposed to spend the remainder of the ESSER money for the year on one-time pay bonuses for some of the IU employees based on length of service. They called it retention stipend. We're voting on that next week. So if everybody has any feedback about that for me, let me know. There were 6 resignations, 4 retirements, 7 new job descriptions approved. summer food program was updated. We were updated on the summer food program. They currently setting up sites around the state. Currently have 42 sites registered through Erie and Crawford counties. Services will begin June 13th, 2022 and end August 12th, 2022. Several new employees were hired. These are positions that were approved last month that I reported on. 5 in special ed, including a speech language pathologist, a teacher's aide for early intervention, a floating aide for early intervention, clerical staff for early intervention, and a bus driver. Also, a new human resources assistant was recently welcomed. The meal was yet another turkey sandwich because they can't spend money on anything good, I guess. And a potato salad and mint cake, which made it worth it. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. I go on record and I'll reach out to you, but I do not think that that is an appropriate use of any funds. But I can elaborate on that later. But right now, that's just the outrage I feel. Erie County VOTEC, Dr. Wise.
Joint Operating Committee met on the 24th. The food was excellent, I should say, as it always is at the tech. And I'll submit a written report to Sarah and have it distributed to the board. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Legislative Council, Mr. Lofgren.
Thank you, Mrs. Crowe. A couple things to bring to your attention. PSBA, the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, emailed us all, and I just wanted to draw your attention to it, that they, along with 20 other founding school board associations, have signed a resolution to form the Consortium of State School Board Associations. This is a little bit my speculation, but I think it's accurate that they're doing this as part of the fact that they withdrew from another national school board association. So they're forming a replacement organization. So just wanted you to be aware of that, along with a couple other items. The PSBA has released their 2022 State of Education report. If you could take some time to review that, it just helps to kind of summarize and consolidate some of the different things that we've been aware of, and PSBA invests in making sure that as accessible as possible. And there is a voucher bill on the House floor that would add additional ways for certain students to get vouchers in certain districts. Just to make you aware of that, it will be on the floor. Again, in my analysis, and this is my opinion, not anything, it's not likely to be passed and signed because there doesn't appear to be enough to override a veto. So just, you can weigh that as far as any kind of feedback that you may give on this particular bill. The last thing is they're doing some revisions, or they have sent to the governor to do revisions to how bidding occurs when there is a lack of response from bidders. It apparently sometimes is needed, but I just wanted to make sure you were aware also that legislation appears to be headed to potential signing. So that concludes my report for this month, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mr. Lofgren. As far as the General McLane Foundation, I think we have a meeting next month prior to, I'll have an update. I believe we have a meeting in between the study session and the regular meeting. All I know right now is the committee for the fund oversight for releasing the funds to our graduating seniors. They are busy at work now, working with high school staff, guidance counselors, et cetera, to identify those names and get those funds ready to be distributed to our graduating seniors, thanks to the foundation. At this time, we'll move on for other business. Is there any other business? Bill, no. And if not, we're going to have recognition of visitors for school-related matters. We do have a list today. We have several speakers that are going to come and speak to us. I'm just going to read this one time to everyone in case you haven't been to a board meeting lately, or you just as a reminder, please know you're talking about anything related to school-related topics. It's at this point in the meeting, it's an item that is not on the agenda. This is where you will speak to us. We recognize all speakers who wish to speak on school-related matters. I'm sorry. Forgive me, I misspoke there. As a reminder, if you've not pre-registered to speak, we ask you please state your name and address before the beginning. If you did not pre-register, we encourage you to sign in and use our visitors log to share your address there so we may verify your residency before speaking. The board recognizes first Kristen Donnelly as a speaker tonight. You have 3 minutes to speak on the topic of the Parker Middle School Enrichment Program. Please state your name before beginning and your time begins. A 2 minute and about 30 seconds. I am going to interrupt you. Okay, I'm going to interrupt any speaker just to pause, and that is where the board needs to make a motion to come on up, Kristen. If you want to come up to the podium, and I'll just keep telling the instruction. I'll continue with the instructions real quick. That's 2 minute and probably 40-second mark. It's just a courtesy. I am going to stop you, and then we can, if you have not finished your speech at that point, and then the board is going to vote to carry on to continue, for additional time. Once we vote, then you can continue to speak. It's the policy. We don't waiver from that. So I apologize in advance if it seems like you're being cut off. Everyone is going to have to be cut off for just a moment. And with that being said, Kristen, if you'd like to go ahead and begin. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, but that doesn't mean that the guests can, so you might want to speak up.
I'll try to talk loud. So my name is Kristen Donnelly. I have 3 children in our district. I have 2 in the high school, and I have 1 in the middle school. My middle school son had the benefit of being in Scott Hutchison's program this year, and he does have a GIEP. And prior to this year, our enrichment has been fairly poor. We struggled with getting him the lessons that he needed. Once he did get tested and he did qualify, he was teaching himself on a computer just while the teacher taught the mainstream kids. He was by himself working on the next level math just on a computer. And then also he was taken out of the class by himself with an AmeriCorps teacher to learn some fragmented math lessons. But there was nothing where he was involved with his own peers. So to make a long story short, after we had multiple negative experiences, we ended up hiring an advocate to come to his GIEP meeting to get him where he needed to be. And she was great because she was able to kind of give us the oomph that we needed. So currently, my 6th grader is only 10 years old, and he also goes to 7th grade for math. This was a plan that was actually devised by Scott when he was in 1st grade. So he went from the end of 1st grade right to 4th grade. And at that time, he was in Scott's advanced math class, and he was able to meet his needs through the acceleration process. The reason we accelerated him is because the enrichment program was unable to meet his needs in any way. So basically my point is, why am I telling you about this? Who cares, right? But the curriculum is written basically for the median kids, and the special education kids are pulled out of that classroom to learn with a teacher that has specialized education in teaching special ed kids. The other side of the spectrum, like there's some wiggle room for differentiation, obviously, for slightly delayed or slightly advanced. But when you get into like the top 20% versus the lower 20%, they need some specialized instruction to have their needs met. The curriculum really does not allow for that. With the special ed kids, like I said, they get a special teacher that teaches them things.
Kristen, I'm going to stop you. Is there a motion for this guest to continue? 2 minutes. Is there a motion for this guest to continue for 2 minutes? Motion, second, yeah. All in favor? Aye. Go ahead, Kristen.
Okay,
2 minutes.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'll try to wrap it up. Basically what I'm saying is the special ed kids have their need met. The higher level learners don't get a special teacher. the regular education teachers we usually have very little training in gifted children and higher level learners, and they're trying to teach to the median. That does not reach the needs of the kids up here. So what we have in the new program is Scott that's able to push into each classroom. And this isn't just for the GIEP kids. This is for the kids that are in the top 20% of learners that need that differentiation that is pretty difficult to achieve when you're trying to teach 20 or more students one thing. So what am I trying to say is that we need this. We need somebody who knows how to teach gifted children and higher level learners that meets them where they are and can recognize their potential, because they can't reach their full potential if they don't have the instruction that they need. This is a group that has been kind of put off for a while. People think gifted kids and higher level learners will succeed no matter what. But you kind of put a ceiling on their success when you don't really bring them up to their potential all the time. You're just meeting them, right here instead of here. And we want to provide the education that will get them to grow to as big as they can be. So my ask here is that we give it at least one more year. We can look for grants. We can keep this program. There were a lot of parents that came from the community to express their feelings of how wonderful this program was for their students that weren't even GIEP kids. The community is willing to help. We know we need to raise taxes, but please try to keep this program for at least one more year while we figure out a grant or some sort of way to raise funds to keep this program that is so needed. I think that's all I really.
That's it. And you're right there at 2 minutes. So thank you. Thank you, Kristen, very much.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Nate Moore.
Who is not? Is there somebody who's I didn't put it together? How about do you want to go at the end? Is that what you're asking? I thought
That's fine.
do you want to move these people up then?
I don't really understand we put these in order of like how they get approached, and we don't really get to stage it.
Wait, but I think you guys are all in a group, aren't you? Like one after the other. Is that okay? Sorry. Is there anyone I think that you all are in a group in the middle, right? Oh. Can you move Carolyn up one? Is that okay? And then we'll have you all in a group. Okay. I think that's right on your agenda, at least.
I'm going to go ahead and rely on Sarah. And I guess we're asking for the next guest is Carolyn Lafada. Is that correct?
Yeah. Do you want to start, Nate, or do you want Carolyn? Okay. Sorry.
Hopefully I can do this. My name is Carolyn Lafada, and for the past 9 years, I have been an aide at Parker Middle School. I am standing here today to ask you, how can a monetary value be more important than the well-being of the students? The pandemic has had an effect on the students more than any other group and deteriorated their mental health. Crime is up, suicide attempts are up, drug use is increasing. We are at a time when the students need teachers more than ever. Eliminating positions and increase in class size is a step in the wrong direction. It will be impossible to meet the needs of every student in a classroom, along with the demands of other duties expected of the teachers. They truly are being pulled in too many directions and being stretched too thin. I'll give you a scenario. A teacher is slowly and gently building a rapport with a student. He finally is beginning to trust this teacher and begins to open up. They are in a deep, meaningful conversation, and the information is vital for his safety and emotional well-being. Maybe this student is trying to stop bullying his friends, or he may be afraid he may harm himself or others. And then the teacher looks up at the clock and the teacher realizes in 2 minutes he has another duty he is committed to. What does the teacher do? The teacher shouldn't have to leave this student who needs to talk. That is why teachers teach. They are teachers, mentors, nurses, mediators, counselors, etc. To teach is to care. Each and every one of the teachers is vital to the students and programs Parker Middle School has to offer. Every single one of them. Anna Elliott is retiring at the end of the school year, and I was saddened when I heard the decision has not been made yet if her program will continue. The program she has built has helped and gives them a support system they may not have in their own home life. If this program is eliminated, so is our high-risk student support system. Furthermore, elimination of this program will put students back in already oversized classes, leading to disrupted learning and a negative effect on students and teachers. This program is needed for students to make good choices in their life, choices that may someday save their life. Okay, this program is needed for students to make good choices in their life, choices that may someday save their life, as so many lives have already been saved. Scott Hutchinson's position is being restructured, which is devastating news. He created a new program to challenge the gifted students working with grades 5 through 8. If you took the time to acknowledge the program he has created for these students, then his position wouldn't be in jeopardy. I wish I had the time to explain them all, but I only have 3 minutes to talk, maybe 4 now. Since monetary funds are needed, has the possibility of reaching out to the alumni for contributions been considered, or businesses, or local community members? We were able to raise funds for the new football turf in an instant. Why can't we do the same for our students' future? Together, we need to create a solution, not an elimination. Our children are our future, and trust us to be there for them. Can they count on you? Thank you for your time.
Sorry, we do have to stick to a policy of some sort. We get where we're going with this. We're going to track it for time. It's not because we're not interested in every word you have to say. It's because we have a policy that we have to follow for timing that goes to all of our guests. So if we're going to do something like this, Mr. McDonald, is it okay if we just sort of, if you guys have a spokesperson-ish, well, let's call it a spokesperson, then we're gonna.
We're willing to all take our 2 minutes.
Yeah, we'll take the 2 minute or the 2 minute 40-second warning, each one of us, and then
Okay.
that's fine.
All right, we'll do it that way. If anyone feels that this is not fair, or equitable, please let us know now. We just are trying to do this the right way for all of our guests, okay?
You ready for me? Okay. Sure. And we'll be respectful of the time. Okay. Sure. Good evening. My name is Kevin Weibel, and I'm a social studies teacher at the high school. I also serve as the vice president of the General McLane Education Association, and I thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. I will be the first of several faculty members to speak with you this evening about some of the proposed eliminations of programs and some of the positions that may be cut for the next school year. As a representative of GMEA, I've had the opportunity to attend several meetings about these proposed changes and these cuts over the last few weeks. And at first glance, I'll be honest, the proposed cuts and changes didn't appear as though they would have these profound immediate impacts because they were only going to affect a handful of teachers and staff. At first glance, I was also able to see that some of this was going to, create some short-term financial benefits for the district in making these cuts. However, as I continued to meet with the administration and with my fellow faculty and staff members, I was able to get a much better perspective on the reality of the situation. And that reality is that these cuts and changes will have a profound effect and a profound impact on our district as a whole. And that impact, I believe, will be negative. This negative impact is because these cuts will not simply be affecting a handful of faculty and staff and some movement. Instead, I now realize that these changes will have long-term negative impacts on our students. And with more meetings, with more reflection, I began to recognize that no short-term financial benefits can outweigh that long-term negative impact on our students. I understand that, like me at first glance, the school board might not see these cuts as having much negative impact on the district as a whole. And the board will easily recognize also that in terms of the budget, there are some financial positives that will come from these cuts. I also understand that the budget and General McLane's finances are a serious responsibility of this board, but the decisions about cutting these positions and programs cannot be driven by financial projections. They cannot be driven by this trying to find ways to do more with less mentality. These decisions must be driven by what is best for our students. The reality of this is that our kids are going to suffer from these decisions. The reality is that these cuts will be bad for our students, and consequently, I believe we will see an impact on our families, our community, our buildings, our faculty and staff, and even this board and General McLane as a whole. These are far-reaching effects of making decisions that are not in the best interest of our students. So with all this in mind, I'd actually rather turn it over to the experts that have been in the trenches, that are going to share with you a lot more specific data and information about these things. Thank you.
My name is Jim Pete. I am a fourth grade teacher here. I was a student at General McLane. I'm a parent of one high school student. My son just graduated. I'm going to start with Amazing Spider-Man number 33. Spider-Man is seen lifting debris and machinery that far exceeds his strength. To say this is how a teacher feels in a normal year wouldn't be a stretch. To say this is how a teacher has felt over the last 3 school years would be an understatement. That being said, one of the proudest days of being a teacher here at General McLane that didn't directly involve the students, it really did, was almost 5 years ago when the entire McCain Elementary staff showed up to this very board to fight for smaller class size, which is obviously something that might be going away. In a show of solidarity, we literally shared hundreds of reasons small class sizes were important. After that board meeting, McCain's grade level sat at 4 teachers each. 4 years ago, small class sizes were preserved. Over the course of the next 4 years, McCain was introduced to attrition. Was it aggressive attrition? I'll let you decide. Our team slowly dwindled to 3 each. Get it? When our numbers shrink, we have to adapt. I don't like it, but I understand. That's what we do. We adapt. Without luck or creativity, I don't like it, but I understand. But what about when our numbers rise? Do other people adapt for us? Without luck or creativity, we are left to deal with 25 students or more as fourth grade did back in 2016, 2017, when our numbers were 27, 27, and 26. We saved the district a whole teacher that year. It was an amazing school year, but how much more amazing could that school year have been had we not felt like we were holding up a building? We currently have a third grade team, a testing grade, that has 24, 23, and 23. During what I hope is the end of COVID, no, we probably aren't there yet, but hopefully at the end, they're amazing teachers doing amazing things every day. I walk into their rooms every single day. But the weight of the debris of the past 3 years is certainly on them every single day. We also have a kindergarten team that was spared 25 per grade level through luck and lots of wiggling around. Our administrator worked really hard. I know our district worked really hard. We used a teacher that was originally hired with COVID money who is being displaced this year. Next year, fourth grade and first grade at McCain are going to be facing numbers in the neighborhood of 25 or more while trying to maintain a high level I work really hard at, we all do, while managing a multitude of issues that would take days and days to describe if I had the time to do it. We'll find a way. We're always asked to find a way, but will that way be best served with teacher cuts and aggressive attrition? You will hear people say they can barely keep their heads above water. It sounds a lot like carrying debris put upon us every single year. The stress that's added is immeasurable, and it weighs on us daily, every day, summer, Saturdays, Sundays. So I end my 3 minutes or so with the same picture of Spider-Man holding up that building in Amazing Spider-Man 33. That scene shows Spider-Man at his weakest. He's down and out. He's broken and bruised and needs help, but he doesn't give up because he needs to save the innocent people whose lives depend on him. This is the measure of a comic book hero. And while not a single teacher sitting here won't ever stop trying like that comic book hero, is this truly how it should be? Because we aren't superheroes, we're humans that have given superhuman effort. Not only the past 3 years, but for me, 23 years, and however many years everybody behind me is taught. When will the debris of what is put on our backs become far too much? Thanks for your time.
Good evening. I'm Pam Swansiger. For the last 13 years, I have been a school counselor at Parker Middle School. I am one of 2 counselors in the building. My counterpart is dedicated to ensuring that 5th and 8th graders are educated and complete the necessary requirements of career education and work standards as set forth by the state. This leaves me to care for 674 students, our current population, by myself. This is an incredibly difficult feat, and I am barely above water. The American School Counseling Association recommends a ratio of 250 students per school counselor. Clearly, we have exceeded that suggested ratio, and this may explain why my nose is barely above water, even with the very supports we are losing. In addition to me being the main support for 674 students are arriving to our middle school with a lack of social emotional support at the elementary level because they do not have school counselors. This leaves many students needing support with peer interaction, respect, and empathy with one another. Our MTSS and club programs are supports that are necessary. These programs help to support students who are in our SAP program, which has increased from 45 students to 125 students over the last 4 years. The program helped to reduce the amount of students being referred for special education by providing them supports to be able to learn how to navigate their work by utilizing academic skills. These programs provided the academic remedial support in math and ELA. Additionally, we have offered enrichment and gifted support. Having the academic portion of student support taken care of by the MTSS team and club programs, I was able to focus my efforts solely on student mental wellness. My fear is that after having 7 teacher positions dissolved from our building over the last 12 years, Our enrollment has only decreased by 21 students in that time. And having our student support increasing at such a rapid and high rate, there will not be enough of me to support all of the needs that have been evidenced throughout the last 4 years. My fear is that without MTSS and club, we will see an increase of identified special education students, SAP referrals, emotional social distress of students, frustration of parents who are not getting satisfaction for their student support, significant student retention, and sadly, teacher attrition due to the number of demands that have been placed upon them in addition to teaching their students. Our district's mission is one that I, and dare I say many of my colleagues, believed in, meeting students where they are to empower them to become all they are capable of being. I'm asking you to consider that mission as we make the decision to end supports that have been dedicated to the specific needs of our students. I assure you, I cannot do this alone. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Brown. I'm the coordinator for MTSS at the middle school. Over the course of the last 7 years, our building has strategically made shifts in staffing so that we can better support the needs of our students. Based upon data, we saw a strong need for the following: remediation in reading, grades 5 and 6, remediation for writing in grades 7 and 8, remediation for math in all grades, academic behavior support for all grades, and enrichment and gifted for all grades. Due to these needs, we formed the MTSS team. This team was comprised of teachers dedicated to specialized instruction for students. Students who were provided remedial services were able to participate in conscious comprehension, that's for our reading, Scribe Tribe, that's for our writing, and Meady's Math, which is for our, our math, Meady's Math. Students who demonstrated a need for academic behavior, emotional, social support were able to participate in Anna Elliott's club, and also academic behavior courses that we designed specifically for this age group. Students who benefited from enrichment and gifted services received extensions in their learning, specific to their learning in the curriculum, through STEAM and social arts. By dissolving this program, we anticipate the following: higher rates of basic scores on the PSSA, little to no PSSA growth for our advanced population, increased class size in all exploratories, increased negative behavior, both in students who are not getting the remediation and students who are not being challenged, higher failure rates, lackluster of GM diminished because we're not offering anything special, burnout of teachers being asked to do yet another duty outside of their teaching responsibility, remediation and enrichment accomplished at a lower level because no one is truly dedicated solely to that position, less students getting the true support that they need, and the library support has to be cut back for all content areas because of being tasked with multiple assignments, responsibilities. This reorganization and elimination of positions changes a lot. Eliminating this program means there's no one dedicated to track students' needs and progress. There is a reassignment of who is in contact with parents, conducts meetings, assigns student courses, makes plans for improvements, reviews assessment data for our building and for our students. The club program will not exist, so students who are struggling with academic and social emotional behavior are left to figure it out on their own. There will be no remediation for math at any level. There will be no remediation for 7th and 8th grade writing. There will be limited enrichment because the person who's providing the enrichment will have another major responsibility. There will be limited experiences and opportunity in the library due to having the responsibility of taking on the enrichment and gifted program. There are no academic behavior courses that will be available. In the past, we have attempted to divide these responsibilities for the classes, and it was not possible to accomplish with the same level of grit and focus. I need to reiterate that the level of support we are offering our students will diminish greatly due to this change. In the past, we've parceled out the responsibility of remediation and enrichment to others in addition to their main job. It has not truly worked. It hasn't worked, and certainly has not been to the level that we are providing support now. Respectfully, I believe that this is a step backwards and is not in the best interest of the students of our district. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is William White, and I'm a middle school social studies teacher of 25 years. Over the course of my employment, we've been told many times that the reasons for why positions have been eliminated, and among those reasons, the declining in enrollment as well was needed. The following are the statistics of our building over the course of the last 12 years. Please listen carefully to the concessions that have been made and our need that is ever increasing. Our enrollment in 2010-2011 was 691. Currently, it's 6,070 or 670. That's a change of 21 students. However, our staff in 2010-2011 was 56 and is currently down to 49. Our special education went from 13.5% to 18.8%. The budget in our building went from $200,000 to $115,000, which is a decrease of $85,000. The SAP referrals over the course of the past 10 years. In 2011 and 2012, we had 23 referrals. By 2016, 2017, just 5 years later, it doubled to 46. Currently, in 21-22, the number of referrals is up to 126. Our students are in need of support. The teachers are willing to support the students, and it's our intrinsic desire. There is a serious reality, however, that can be heard in these numbers that I've just shared with you. The number of students requiring support outweighs the teacher's ability to do so. Teachers are willing to give, and we have also been given many other duties to accomplish outside of our teaching responsibilities. We've also taken on a number of responsibilities beyond our regular day. For example, I've been part of a DC trip for 20 years, the middle school track program, several trips to Colonial Williamsburg, Detroit, Philadelphia, Boston, and many other things and programs that we've instituted. And none of those have cost the district. All it's taken has been our time. We've been willing to dedicate that time and effort. But right now, our time and effort is being taken away because we have to provide the additional supports and stuff that are being removed from some of our other staff and now being placed upon us. How will it be possible for the students to get the support that they need? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nate Moore. I teach science at the high school, and I'm the president of the General McLane Education Association. You've just heard stories of several teachers and counselors in their own words. Among other things, these stories have highlighted how deeply these folks care about the children in their charge and how we've been doing more with less for years. In fact, since 2003, we have lost 16 and a half teaching positions from K to 12 as a result of the declining enrollment. These were responsible decisions. The aggressive attrition that is being suggested now are being suggested in the face of enrollment that is staying the same. In this moment, when students need us, teachers, counselors, and nurses, now more than ever, we're considering cuts to programs that provide supports to the students who struggle the most. At the same time, we're considering cuts to the electives at the high school that have traditionally given our students a competitive advantage. And at the elementary schools, again, we do not have guidance counselors. This is a direct result of the do more with less motto that has guided us for so long. The guidance counselors deserve discussion in a little bit more detail. We have put Band-Aids in place. We have counselors from outside services, but there's a problem there. Because these are counselors from outside services and not GM employees, Parent permission must be obtained before students can speak to them. That means that if a student is in crisis, we had better hope that parent permission was obtained prior. Otherwise, it falls to the teacher. In every conversation I've had over the years regarding the decisions at GM, the guiding principle has been, we do what's best for kids. I ask you now, in what way is not having guidance counselors at the elementary schools what's best for kids? It simply isn't. If we apply the same litmus test to these proposed cuts, we arrive at the same answer. These proposed cuts are not what is best for kids, and not once in the discussions I've had with anyone has that line been utilized as the basis for these decisions. At the elementary level, we stand to lose 3 interventionists. This would be all the more powerful if I could say their names because they are real people, but I recognize that I cannot in this forum. These individuals were hired with grant money, that much is true, but they were also hired for a reason, to address learning loss. That learning loss has not been addressed in the 8 months that we've been in school so far. Also, at the elementary level, we stand to lose an individual who bailed out this district at the 11th hour. She left a permanent position in the Erie School District to come here to work at the place where she sent her own children. Due to the lateness of her hire, she was hired by a letter of appointment. This means that she won't be furloughed, she won't be fired, she simply won't be invited back. That elementary art position will be filled though internally because we are proposing cutting the high school Mandarin program, along with the successful Asian Cultural Studies elective. How will we fill this cultural studies gap? Well, of course, we're just gonna ask the remaining foreign language teachers to create more electives that will fill that void on top of their already full teaching schedules. And lastly, we arrive at the middle school, where this round of proposed cuts will go the deepest. The MTSS team that has been part of the strategic plan for years. In fact, it is supposed to take 5 years to successfully implement an MTSS program. That team will be restructured. The jobs currently held by 3 separate individuals are intended to be consolidated into 2 individuals on top of their existing responsibilities. I ask again, in what way are these decisions what is best for kids? According to PASchoolsWork.org, an organization that tracks the school funding crisis in Pennsylvania, General McLane ranks 373 out of 500 in its local tax effort to fund its schools. That's barely out of the bottom 25%. Additionally, General McLane ranks 390 out of 500 in per pupil spending. That is squarely in the bottom 25%. If those numbers don't speak to the fact that we are already doing more with less, I don't know what will. I understand that we're in a budget crisis, but these cuts are not going to solve the crisis. Not only are they not going to solve the crisis, they are going to negatively impact the opportunities of students in this district for years to come. In fact, we may save the name General McLane at the expense of everything that has made GM the envy of Erie County. Tonight is not the end. In fact, I hope it is the beginning of a more open and constructive dialogue between the General McLane Education Association, this board, the parents, and the community about how we can address these challenges together. Meeting students where they are to empower them all they're capable of being is our mission, after all.
Thank you. Thank you all. Yeah, we're good. Next, we're going to have Juliet and Adam McCulloch come on up. Oh, would you mind escorting her? Just maybe just sit behind her. Would that be okay, please? Okay. Just in case. Juliet, it's nice that you're here with us tonight. We really appreciate it. Never stop coming to meetings and speaking out, okay? Whenever anything that you feel strongly about, it's really important that you always participate wherever you can in your community, okay? You have 3 minutes to talk to us this evening. I'm just going to go ahead right now, and would it be okay, just in case Juliet has another minute or so, can we just go ahead and offer Juliet 4 minutes now? Just all in favor? Aye. Just because we don't want to cut you off tonight this evening. All right, go ahead whenever you're ready. I'm going to tell you when your time is up. If you need more time, we'll vote then. But as it goes right now, you have 4 minutes, okay? Thank you, Juliet. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Juliet McCulsick. I am in 5th grade at Parker Middle School, and I'm here to share my experience in Mr. Hutchison's enrichment class. One project we did in STEAM class was growing microgreens, which are mini vegetables. We learned that you can plant them in the ground up outsides of a coconut instead of dirt, which is cool because it helps grow plants in places where there isn't much dirt like Hawaii. We learned how to test the pH of water and how hydroponics and aquaponics work. These technologies are really important in making a path to a sustainable world. In addition, Mr. Hutch taught our social arts class. We filled out a 30-day gratitude journal, and we would share some of our answers. We also were talking about what makes a person heroic and finding acts of kindness on safari. It was really cool to see all the kind things people do to each other to make their day, and it makes me really happy. We had a meeting of the Builders Club about every other day where there is a president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, and we go over the pledge. Then we have to solve the icebreaker, things like having to line up in age order without speaking. It was really fun. Mr. Hutch also came to our language arts class and helped us with group projects after we read the book Rich Terabithia. We created a world where people could escape the struggles of the day and then had to market it to show how our world would help people who need to relax, take a break, find a friend, or ease mental anxieties. Recently, he came to assist us with our independent biome projects. I chose to research coral reefs, which is one of the most fragile biodiverse biomes. He also had us self-evaluate to determine if we liked doing the group project or the independent project better. Personally, I discovered that I like group projects because I like to mix people's thoughts together to make one awesome project. Also, it is just fun to work with my peers. I would really miss him if Mr. Hutchison wasn't able to be as involved in my classes because he is a really fun teacher and he really explains the idea he is teaching and makes me excited about learning. If there could be a way to save money without eliminating his position, I, and I believe so many others as well, would be so grateful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Juliet. We do appreciate you engaging with the board tonight, and thank you for speaking. And I apologize, Adam. I actually thought that there were a couple of kids here, but I would prefer if an adult was with her anyway, so go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Adam McCulsick. Like many other parents at Parker Middle School, my wife and I were extremely disappointed to learn last week that 5 positions are being lost in the district due to retiring teachers who are not being replaced. Dr. Lane, the superintendent, shared with us that if the district does not cut spending, funds will be disastrously short by 2025. This means that the wonderful enrichment program at Parker that was initiated by Scott Hutchison this year is being restructured and reduced. Mr. Hutchison has put together an incredible program, some of which you just heard. He found outside sources via grants for many of the programs. Unfortunately, the lack of money for a dedicated enrichment teacher is the reason for the restructuring. My personal experience is that I grew up in a lower middle class suburb of Chicago. Even though my community could not afford above average funding for schools, we had a dedicated person administering the enhancement program at all levels, elementary, middle school, and at high school. And as a gifted kid, that's really made the difference as I went through the years. Having Mr. Hutchison in that role at Parker was a relief to us, knowing that our kids who have GIEPs would be appropriately challenged. The restructuring could have been avoided if the school board had incrementally increased taxes each year at a rate of about 2% annually instead of the 0.7%. In PA, as was just mentioned, General McLane School District, ranks 370 out of 500 schools in terms of tax support, which means nearly 3 out of 4 schools are taxed at a higher rate. This may seem like a good thing until crucial programs that provide students formative experiences have to be cut. It is impossible to expect our schools to be considered above average with a wide variety of robust programming if it is receiving funding that is well below average. My wife and I are urging you, the school board, to raise taxes in a sustainable way to fund programs that will create successful, above average students. Additionally, we are humbly asking members of our community to be supportive of this measure. We are also urging the school district administrators to prioritize spending on academic programs, including art and music. We would appreciate serious consideration of consolidating 2 administrative positions that were previously combined. The curriculum coordinator spent significant time this past year establishing a GM cyber program, which is obviously not a reoccurring task. So the upcoming workload would be lightened, combined with a principal position could serve as a potential stopgap measurement until alternative funding can be secured. We also urge the school district to spend time this year working on a grant for the gifted program. Several items need to be addressed in order for our district to be considered a good candidate for the program. And it takes significant time to complete the process. However, we need to start immediately so that we can be, get in a better situation regarding the enrichment program. Good schools attract people to our community and help it continue to thrive. Investing in our children is an investment in our community's future. Thank you.
Thank you again, Adam, and thank you also for engaging and speaking with the board this evening. And our last speaker this evening, I believe, is Michelle Retman, Health and Safety Plan and Budget. Michelle, we do have the information. We have seen you before. We recognize you as a speaker this evening. You have 3 minutes to speak on your subject of health and safety plan as well as the budget. And your time can begin when you want to start.
Okay. Thank you for having me. I've been up here every month, probably since October. For those that haven't been here, I appreciate all the teachers coming out. It's nice to see you and see you involved. If you weren't aware, they are doing a tax increase this year. So just so you were aware of that, they are raising the taxes, which is needed. I think the reason for the budget, it's been warned 10 years ago that we would be in this crisis if they were not incrementally raising taxes. The enrollment has gone down, and I'm just talking from what I understand. But eliminating a STEM program is not the right way to do this. My daughter is a gifted student. And when she was in middle school, she was bored in math. She was making a roller coaster because the other kids couldn't keep up with her. So when you eliminate the programs for those that excel, you're hurting all the students, and especially someone who is gifted in the science, technology, English, so the science technology. We need to compete as a country. So you're dumbing down our students when you're not letting them excel where they need to be. And that's what these teachers are here for. They're here to let the gifted students excel. So when you do not let them excel, then we're going to become a socialist country. That's not what we're about. We're about individuality, independent thought, critical thinking. And that's what these teachers are here for. They're here to instill that independent thought, not the politics that have been brought into our classrooms. The reason we're in this budget problem is because the taxes were not increased, because of bad spending through the years, unnecessary spending, not identifying where we need to make cuts. As one of the parents said, you had no problem putting in a football field that now needs replaced instead of putting that money where it needs to go. And one of the ways that we could bring back more teachers is to look at that charter academy. We have a lot of people going to the community charter academy that cost us approximately $16,000 per student. I don't know the exact figure in front of me, but if these teachers can bring these kids back here, get the politics out of the classroom, which we know was detrimental to our community last year, and let them teach. We can keep all these teachers, and we can keep the ones you're looking to get rid of. Bring these kids back. Figure out a way to get these parents to bring these kids back so we can keep all these teaching positions, because the money is there. There's $1 million that we spent on the CCA to put these kids in a charter school. And why is that? Because their teachers are getting pushed an agenda. I want them to teach the ABCs. The ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Let them teach. Don't let the politics ruin why they went to college. And for the teachers, if you haven't watched it, there's a movie called Who Children Are They? I suggest watching it, and it talks about the teachers' unions. And I'm not anti-union. I want the teachers to teach.
You, Michelle,
Thank you.
right now. Is there a motion to, do you want to extend for another 2 minutes, Michelle?
I'll be less than 2 minutes.
Okay, let's just go ahead, Michelle, for another 2 minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
First?
I'm sorry, I didn't allow that to be seconded. I apologize. Is there a motion to second to have that? Yes. Sherry, you were the yes on that now. Motion to approve. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. I hope the board takes the opportunity to look at where we can bring our students back into the schools. Let the teachers teach. You won't have to cut any positions if you can bring these students back. So the teachers need to work with the board and the community to find a way so we can bring these teachers back. We can bring these students back so we don't have to cut any teachers. Nobody wants to cut a teacher and nobody wants to cut a program. I think that's all I have to say. And I hope you take it for what it is, because this budget was dooming 10 years ago. We knew we'd be in this situation, and it shouldn't have to be a 10% tax increase to get out of it. We need to figure out better ways to keep the kids in the school. And by doing that, if we get them back in here, you'll have all the money you need for these teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking and addressing the board this evening. Those are all the speakers that we have. Is there someone else who would like to address the board? Sure, come on up. My glasses on. Information on file. Just go ahead and begin. When you begin, that is when your time starts, and then we might interrupt you if you want to go beyond 3 minutes. Go ahead. Thank you.
In August, I stood before the GM board and I went through my talk through August, and I literally said, we have to do what's hard now to benefit that in the future, to stand up for things out of the box, ask questions, to keep these students here in the school that we're leaving for the cyber schools. I asked several times why we did not create a cyber school when the other districts were. And the response was there wasn't enough interest, or we didn't have the time or effort to do that. Those children have now gone. It was 1 million last year. It's 1.5 close to this year. I know it's too late to do that, but it's not too late to create a cyber school. We do have a curriculum director. We can be GM strong and proud with that if we can't get them back into the school with enrichment or other programs and cutting. The community has spoken tonight and in the last several meetings that they want to make GM great again. The teachers have spoken. They've been giving all they can throughout the last several years, but they're expecting to do more with less. However, the board since August has talked about ESSER's funding for roofing, HVAC units, light bulbs, buses, and not increasing the lease price for people. We'll talk about it next year. So these are little areas that we can absorb more funds by less costs. We spoke about students almost twice since August with curriculum and what we can do for them. And we spent 30 minutes talking about juniors that didn't pass the Keystones and 4 ways we could get them to graduate. We have to bond to lift people up in this community as well as students to make the next leaders. How are we going to make leaders at GM strong if we're getting rid of and cutting things that are parallel to that movement? Thoughts to hire a grant writer or fundraiser coordinator. There's amazing things that can happen. This deficit is not going away. Taxes are being increased. That's fine. In full support of that being living in this community. But like has said, when it was stated we had 10 years to prepare for this, we are not being GM strong. We are not being proactive, we're being reactive, and we're in a state of crisis. I understand. But to get out of crisis, you need to think out of that box and do what's strong and ask questions and don't keep approving things. We just approved $320,000 for 3 buses. Why? Did we ask what we needed those 3 buses to sell for? Was it really imperative to do it this year? I want the kids to be comfortable, but then we're stating we don't even need to provide transportation.
Carrie, we're right there, 15 seconds.
Thank you. Instead of cutting, why don't we involve the community and think out of the box? There's so much more opportunity. We want to support the board, but with making things that aren't transparent. And when I say transparent, I'm not undercutting you. I've been at every meeting. I take notes. We try to record it. We want to help, but I don't think the right questions are being asked how we can help. And the answers are being the easy way out, not what's hard. Thank you.
Anyone else? Julie? We have your information on file. You have 3 minutes. When I need to interrupt you, don't be offended. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm going to go a little off of what I was originally going to say because others have said it. But first, thank you for allowing me to speak. This is an amazing, amazing group of teachers right here. I would challenge anyone. I'm a substitute teacher. I'm an engineer, I'm a substitute teacher, and I'm a real estate agent. So I have different hats, and I'm a mom. I would challenge any one of you to go into their classroom and observe what they do. My guess is you haven't really followed them around. I have a rule for myself as a substitute teacher. I try not to take kindergarten in the first half of the year. Sorry, Laura. Because it is work. And when you get those classes up, I've taken to counting kids because they're so hard to keep track of. You never know who's under the table, who's tying their shoe, who's picking up a crayon, who's breathing the other one's air. If you increase these class sizes, you're just going to put too much on these teachers. I watched, but especially Mr. Hutch's role, and especially that 4th grade team. I watched them and the impact on those kids that wouldn't talk to anyone, kids that were shut down, kids that had an awful, awful home life. And Mr. Hutch and Mr. Pete and Mrs. Wismer, they're the 3 that are still there. Mrs. McIntyre's there now. I had a connection with these kids that you cannot find anywhere else. Mr. Hutch and Mr. Pete had an enrichment program in the elementary school that you were not paying for because of what they did with those kids. We cannot start in high school. We have to start. And now in the middle school, I would challenge you to watch him because I don't think some of you that are making the big decisions really know who Mr. Hutch is. We're falling behind as a nation in technology. This is our growth. This is the future of our community. I can't expect, how can I tell someone that's wanting to buy a house, come to GM, we don't have an enrichment program. How are you going to attract those engineers, those teachers, those, the higher education if you don't have that available for their kids? I went to another school. We did not have an enrichment program. I struggled to catch up with what I did not have.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is there a motion for another 2 minutes? All in favor? Aye. Go ahead, Julie. 2 more minutes, please. Thank you.
The draw to GM for families is not the sports. And I know some of you think that it's our marching band and our chorus, but it's not. It's the education. We're here to educate kids. We're not here. I know sports are important, but we are here to educate. That's our primary goal. We're quick to defend the salaries of the administration. I asked at the parent meeting, which, by the way, I know that the administration did not want to have and did not want to advertise because they didn't want a lot of parents there. We asked, well, is the administration willing to freeze their pay in order to save some of these teachers' jobs? That was a quick no. That was defended. We need one central person to do this, but yet you're willing to take Mr. Hutch's job and move it up a month. amongst a bunch of teachers when you're not willing to do that yourself. So start by leading by example. Start by looking at what's important, the students. And also to accuse someone of misinformation is slander. There was not one shred of misinformation. It has been the administration that has given out misinformation. What we heard in that meeting was different than what is being told here. So I would ask you to please stop labeling misinformation without being very specific about what is incorrect, because you're slandering someone who I think has the most integrity of anyone that you will ever meet. So I ask you, look at other things. Why are we buying 3 buses when we're looking at contracting out? Why are we replacing the HVAC system? $5 million.
You're right there at 15 seconds.
Is it broken or is it working? $5 million. Do we really need to do that? Can we put that off? Why are we doing it now? Is it breaking down? Does it not work? Our kids' education and these teachers are more important.
Hi, I apologize. You're not on the list that I have, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask that you would insert your name.
Sure.
And you have 3 minutes to speak on the topic, which you're not on the agenda. So could you just tell us your name and the topic you're to discuss?
Sure. It's about the teachers and what we've been discussing.
Okay. All right. And your name and then 3 minutes. I don't want to say you've heard the instructions. I'll say them again. Okay. And if I interrupt you, I do not mean to be rude.
Okay.
Nope, you're good.
My
Thank
name's
you.
Kathy Bradley. I actually work at McCain Elementary, and I usually don't do this, but my background, I did 2 years with the CDA and twice, and I ended up getting a paralegal degree. And what that means is I'm just a very expensive secretary. But that being said, I was in daycare for 25 years. So I've worked with kids a very long time. And this is actually my retirement job. With that being said, this is a very, very wonderful school district. My kids have graduated from the school district, and it is not the same. I have said this in the last meeting with Dr. Lane. There is a mental health issue going on, and it is starting in elementary school. This past week has been very different. We had 2 first graders with a mental health crisis. 2 first grade. Okay. We have kindergartners that are very open about starting boyfriend-girlfriend stuff. And it's not anything to chuckle about, because these are things that are very beyond what they should be. 4th grade is having a lot of social anxiety and issues that are going on. I cannot emphasize enough that we need teachers. We cannot condense these classes any more than what they are, because if we do, I'm just going to say it, Erie City Schools, that is what we're going to become, and we are going to have another issue. And not saying that those teachers at Erie City Schools are not working hard, because they are defending themselves literally. That's what we're going to become here. Our teachers are going to be afraid to go to school. They're going to be defending themselves from kids. We don't hear all of this because they don't report it. But that's what's happening in Erie City Schools, is the teachers are defending themselves from students. And they just put in detectors. Is that where we're going to be in the next couple of years? We have staff members that sit in their car and just debate on whether or not to come into school. And they've been there for 20 some odd years. These past couple of years have been detrimental to everybody across the board. but we are putting more onto the staff than what we've ever done before. And the fact that we have administrators, we have 2 open, well, now 1.
Kathy, we're right there.
I
15
get that.
seconds.
We have administration positions open. If we kept those open and had a floating principal position.
Kathy, that's your 3 minutes. Let's let the board, please, if you please, let us do our procedure, which is,
that is
please
fine.
stop.
That's fine.
Is there
I
a motion to
understand.
have
I
her
understand.
extend time by 2 minutes?
I'll be super quick. I'll be super quick.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign.
I
Kathy,
appreciate
please
it.
continue.
We had 2 open principal positions. If we kept those open and had a floating principal, that would open 4 teaching positions. 4. And if, no offense, anybody making over 100,000 a year took a pay cut, that would open another teaching position. And we just had how many other teachers put in their resignation today? So that actually took care of 3 of the other 5 positions that would possibly needed to be cut for next year. So where do we need to cut more positions from? Our teachers are stretched to the max, then not even wanting to do the bonds, which the board has the ability to do 225% of what they need to do, but nobody wants to do it because it's too much. We need to be going above and beyond of whatever needs to be done to get this taken care of. These kids should be our first priority, not what we need to do, taking above and beyond for ourselves. They do that every day. They do it every day, and more so. I know a lot of parents think that the teachers come in when the kids roll in and then leave when they roll out. They don't understand that sometimes the teachers are in there at 6 a.m. and they don't leave until 11 o'clock at night.
Kathy, we're right there. Is there 15 more seconds you'd like to make a final point?
I would just really hope that you take the board in general, take the option of doing bonds in addition to, I understand that you need to raise the taxes, but to get the whole entire point together so that we're not losing anybody, that we can keep this because we need everybody on the ball.
Thank you. Your time is up for speaking. We appreciate you engaging with the board tonight. If you
Can I sign up or do I have to wait?
you do not need to, but you do need to tell us what you're here to speak about this evening, and state your name before you go ahead and begin for the guests that might not know that, and then you know the routine.
I do. Thank you very much. Kathleen Higgins, I'm talking about the active shooter at Erie High School and how it relates to General McLane and the communication efforts that didn't happen. So with our coalition at the General McLane, the GM Parents United Coalition, I also belong to the Erie County Parents Coalition of 1,700 parents, and then plus several others. So about 3,000 parents in those other different organizations. And what we discovered was there was like a couple schools that did not have communication directed to them about there was an active shooter going on at Erie High School. One of them was Mill Creek, but Fairview got notification, Villa, Prep, well, they were right there. I reached out to Sarah and I was told, hey, was there a statement? No, you have to call in and find out what was going on. I kind of have a problem with that. And so then I requested, I did my ask, I did my reason why, and I gave them the solution. And basically I got dismissed by Dr. Lane. I was really disappointed with that response, was just thank you for your inquiry. And that was pretty much it. So I found that was really disheartening because all I really was asking was, hey, there's an active shooter at a different high school in Erie County. And if I'm hearing this on the fly, quickly going through my phone on a break or something, and I don't see it's at Erie High, first thing I'm going to do is pick up the phone and want to know, is it at General McLane? Am I going to have to stop what I'm doing? Am I getting a phone call, a simple phone call? Hey, there's been a situation at Erie High School. General McLane is safe, something to that protocol. There's nothing. And then to back up my point, Brenton Davis came out
a week or two later, probably not even a week or two, like a couple days later, and said there is no protocol for Erie County. He proved my point that there was no Erie County protocol for all the school districts. So I'm glad these teachers are here because you guys are at risk. I mean, I don't want to have these situations occur. I think knowledge is power and communication is everything. And again, seems to be a theme that we keep going through. It's we ask, we give you the reason why, we try to find a solution, and we get dismissed over and over again. And you know what? It's really getting old. So can we please do something about that? Yes, maybe. Thank you. I'll send another email.
Here at this table or executive session, no. And if not, is there a motion to, oh, I apologize. Wait a minute. Yeah. Sorry. Again, this is an important legal aspect and we do not leave those out. Notifications of meeting held since the last regularly scheduled board meeting of March 16th. There was a regular monthly study session that occurred on April the 13th, as well as Finance and District Operation Committee meeting on April the 13th, Policy and Co-Curricular Activity Committee that occurred on April the 13th, as well as Curriculum and Construction Committee meeting at April 13th. All of the committee meetings happened at 5:30. All the regular study session occurred at 6:30. All of the notifications are out and about. Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Aye. Good evening. Thank you all for coming.